Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of how is ChatGPT and AI revolutionizing adaptive project portfolio management. This webinar is a new addition to our series of adaptive webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and welcome everybody. This topic is very timely. I don't think we can go anywhere or watch anything or hear anything without somehow hearing about the revolution of AI and how it's coming into our daily lives in a lot of different aspects. Today, our mission is to talk about how AI and ChatGPT and other permutations of that are impacting project and portfolio management, specifically adaptive project and portfolio management. We'll talk about those concepts here today. So when we talk about this, what is generative AI? It's, AI techniques that learn from a representation of artifacts in a model and then generate new artifacts with similar characteristics, meaning you have inputs and then it gives you back and it generates something based upon the inputs that you give it or the queries that you make. Now, foundation models, as part of this, are large machine learning models that are trained on a large, broad set of data, and then it's fine-tuned and adapted to a wide range of applications. So it's a vast data set on the back end of this. And these large language models is AI that is trained on a vast amount of text, allowing it to interpret and generate human-like textual output. Hence the way that we can work with it conversationally. Now, ChatGPT, as part of that, is provided by OpenAI, and it's a service that incorporates a conversational chatbot with a large language model to create content. So it's been trained on billions of words from many, many sources, and then it's fine-tuned by the reinforcement and the feedback it's getting from us in our human interactions. So overall at the foundation, these are some of the components of that generative AI that we hear about. So what are ChatGPT and GPT? Well, ChatGPT, as mentioned, is a chat application that uses a specially trained version of GPT or generative pre-trained transformer. Now, when you go and register for ChatGPT and you get the free version of that, you're basically using a version that leverages GPT 3.5. And it's designed to interact with you conversationally, where you can ask it questions and it provides you back answers and suggestions based on a specific trained large set of data, which is GPT 3.5. Now, GPT is a type of foundation model, and it's, the type of machine learning that uses large pre-trained data sets, and there's many uses and types of foundation models that you can use in this realm. Now, OpenAI is really the leader here, and they developed generative artificial intelligence AI technology, and they developed ChatGPT on the back end. Now, making this even more interesting is that Microsoft's heavily invested. So Microsoft originally invested $1 billion back in 2019 and then provided another $10 billion of investment in 2023. And it has exclusive rights until it has recouped its investment, meaning it is a significant stakeholder and player in this, and also has the uses that it's going to put into play with its products and services. So hence, there are two versions of ChatGPT in the market. There's the one that's provided by OpenAI, ChatGPT, and then there's the Azure OpenAI service, ChatGPT, which is available from Microsoft. Now, Microsoft's version of this is set to offer more enterprise levels of security, compliance, and confidentiality, especially for business users. And OpenAI's version really gives no privacy or confidentiality assurances out there on the open internet with what it's doing. So a little bit of differentiation there. Now, both services operate on a closed, specially trained version of GPT 3.5 in the free versions, but many projects will not use ChatGPT, but instead use their own variations of transformer models. Now, APIs are available for these GPT models, and many vendors and many companies and folks are actually using those APIs to develop their own. Now, the longer-term Microsoft strategy is not just to have another version of ChatGPT, but it's really going to become integral to future versions of Microsoft applications, and that move has already started. Using it within Microsoft 365 and the applications in there like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Power BI reporting and analytics, in Bing, in its search engine. And it's expected, with all the innovation and focus and money and time that Microsoft's putting into this, that it's expected to challenge Google search technology for preeminence for queries that people are going to do across the internet. Now, it's been amazing, the rapid adoption and evolution here. ChatGPT currently has over 180 million users, and its general availability to the public didn't happen until November 2022. So just a little over a year ago, maybe 14 months ago, 13 months ago, it became generally available, and it reached 1 million users in 5 days. So if you look at down below some of the more popular things that we use on the web and tools we use on the web, it just dwarfed in the speed it took to get up to 1 million users. And people are using it to generate content, create images, and a variety of other things that they're doing to help augment their human efforts. So why is there such an intense interest? Well, it really represents a perfect storm. You know, there's hot technologies that have the chat bot that enables natural sounding conversational questions, make it easy to interact and get information from it. And it also has that large language model that performs advanced language related functions, including, you know, generation of language for answers. It summarizes things, it answers questions, and it really provides a good tool and a source of information for us and helps us in our day-to-day tasks that we need to do. It can hold seemingly intelligent conversations with us, but appearing to understand what we say. Now, while this is amazing, and it can be actually humorous and it can be even astounding, but be aware that we're in our early stages of the life cycle of this technology. And some of the answers that it gives you, though maybe detailed, can be factually incorrect or biased. And despite OpenAI's improvement efforts so far, it's still evolving. So there is a danger that there's content that you get back that could be factually incorrect, and you may assume to be correct because it's presented in a very eloquent fashion. So just be aware that, you know, it's an algorithm, it's bringing back data, it's constantly learning, but the idea is that you can get information that's misleading. So keep that in context when you look at the results. But it does have massive market implications. That's why there's such an intense interest, whether it be vendors are trying to figure out ways to leverage this to promote and enhance their offerings to the marketplace, or even organizations that are figuring out how to use it to their advantage to improve their operations and efficiencies as they go on through. It offers significant potential opportunities, but there also entails disruption and risk potential there as well. So, you know, the capabilities there of text generation, classification, summarization, language translation, question and answering, you can even generate or enhance people's code when they're doing software development. You know, pretty astounding stuff. But there are potential risks and misuses. You know, there can be biases built in, ethics on how it's being used. You could get wrong answers. There could be potential copyright violations. You know, this whole world of, you know, AI and virtual things with deep fakes and misinformation, and people could actually have malicious intent with, say, maybe some fraud and sort of spam or phishing types of things that are out there. So just be aware that you use it responsibly and just be cautious. So as we go through here, ChatGPT, well, let's put this in the context of doing project and portfolio management. And I would say, given the nature of ChatGPT, it's very helpful for information and help that you might use for what I would call more general use purposes. Let's say, for example, we're initiating a project of a certain type and we wanted to have it develop or help us develop a project charter. I'm going to start this. And the question I'm going to ask it is, create a project charter for a kitchen remodel project. And very quickly, it's going to give in a format that's project charter oriented, the project objectives, a scope of work, project deliverables, project constraints, stakeholders that you need, some risks, the communication plan, even approval for a signature at the bottom. So very quickly, it was able to give me a project charter for a type of project based upon its knowledge and its learning from that large language model. Pretty impressive. And I can leverage this, and I would say use it as a starting point. I wouldn't take it verbatim, but I would look at it and say, instead of me building this from scratch, it helped me get a head start on this, and then I can refine it with my own touches on that so I can collaborate and use this to enhance my efforts and make me more efficient. Now, we could even ask it more questions from an analysis perspective. For example, maybe I want to use more general use issues of maybe some project risks associated with a certain type of project. In this particular case, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, what are the biggest risk areas of a new product development effort? And it's telling me market fit and customer needs and not meeting those, technology innovation, project management, competitive landscape, regulatory compliance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's giving me those areas. Now, I can look which of these is commonly the most costly and impactful risk. And it's coming back and telling me that poor market fit and misalignment with customer needs is probably the most impactful and costly. And here's why. Here's the detailed reasons why that might be the most costly. So as I'm looking at this, I'm anticipating some risks and I'm building my plan and also putting in some safeguards, maybe to help me mitigate or prevent me from stumbling onto those risk areas. So once again, some general use areas that ChatGPT can help us in a project and portfolio management realm. Now, Microsoft is launching what it's calling Copilot. And Copilot is for Microsoft 365, and it combines the power of the large language models, right? But it's going to work inside and alongside popular Microsoft 365 apps such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, etc. And it's available at Microsoft as a premium feature that you can subscribe to. Now, once again, the Microsoft Cloud is going to provide some additional security protections and compliance and all that type of thing. And it's also going to come in the project management realm. It's been announced that it's going to be coming into Planner and Planner Premium, which is now called Project for the Web, in early 2024, so it's coming. And here you see a visual of using your tools with Copilot basically docked onto the side of it so that you can use it in the context of the application that you're working in. Once again, be able to use in context of where you're working. So for example, if you're looking at something like this in a Microsoft app, just very briefly and quickly, you'll be able to see that Copilot would be there. You can ask it some questions. Here it's asking for some suggestions on some tasks I might add for a specific purpose into a plan. And then it's going to add some things and help me and assist me in doing some of those things in routine. Now, as we go a little further, and some of the things that we're doing here at OnePlan, we're actually using AI and OpenAI, Microsoft's Azure OpenAI, to enable Sofia GPT within OnePlan. We look at it as AI as a collaborator, and it's specifically designed for project and portfolio and work management. It's leveraging, as I said, Azure OpenAI for the additional protections and compliance. And it really is there to revolutionize the way people make their strategic portfolio and work management work. So for example, it's a pure play PPM chatbot. So instead of like ChatGPT, which is more general purpose, this has been trained and designed so that it uses the same underlying data for the broad data set that it's in Azure OpenAI, but it's dedicated to the PPM data in OnePlan, meaning that it's going to give you answers in the context of not only its broader knowledge, but the specific information that you're looking at and analyzing within OnePlan. So OnePlan's Sofia GPT can understand natural language and respond in real time, helps us to streamline tasks, help with strategic planning, decision-making process, and analysis, okay? Basically, it's dedicated to this specific purpose and can help us with a variety of different aspects and tasks. So the evolution here, and we've been on this for a while at OnePlan, you know, early on, as far as looking at the AI evolution of portfolio management, went from very simply maybe aggregating data sets and getting data from a variety of sources across the organization and using integrations and APIs in the early days to make that happen. And then some automation started to happen with scripting and business process automation tools in order to kind of leverage that and make things smarter to help us do things in a more routine fashion. And then on the reporting and analytics, there was AI-based predictive analytics that came along to make suggestions on things, or help us to understand where things were going and predict where things would maybe end up, giving us hints at corrective actions that needed to be taken. But that was more on the data and analytics side of things. And now we're at a place where we have AI-based assistance for strategic portfolio management, all other kinds of portfolio management with inbuilt AI assistance. Now, later on in the future, we're going to see evolution into some more autonomous things that are fully automated, that are going to do things in an unsolicited fashion to help us along and make suggestions without us interacting. We are not there yet, but that's where we've been and that's where we are. So analysts like Gartner have defined use cases for AI in portfolio management. If we look at this, there's the augmented data entry, where we can create relevant information such as project details, schedules, and budgets, and help us and assist us to do that much quicker than we could do manually. Automated information retrieval to analyze SPM data or PPM data, and in all the areas of project level data, schedules, resource allocations, financials, etc. Communication automation, help us generate communications to our stakeholders so that we don't have to write those things from scratch necessarily. Resource estimation, help us estimate the resources required for a project, reducing the risk or understaffing, or maybe help us not overlook some things that we may overlook. And then even analyze underperforming investments and scrutinize project-related information to pinpoint the areas where projects may be falling short of their objectives or exceeding their budgets, etc. There's also forecast completion and spending, identify recurring patterns and trends, which can help us with our precise forecasting or help us predict where things are going to end up more effectively. Budget and plan optimization, help us look at plans and figure out ways that we can maybe optimize that plan or streamline it or do it in a more efficient way. Risk identification, help us identify potential risks such as schedule delays or budget overruns. Defect reduction, scrutinize project data to pinpoint areas where defects are most likely to transpire and help us maybe be more proactive in avoiding those. And also identifying things like data anomalies. So these are just some use cases within adaptive portfolio management that we can look at. Now, Sofia GPT is always available in one plan. Now, you have an option whether or not to enable it or not, but it comes with our enterprise version of the software, meaning that if you look at it, it's always going to be available to you in the lower right, and you can tap it and ask it for assistance on a variety of different things at any given point in time, regardless of where you are within the solution. So for example, it would open up this chat, and when you ask it questions, it will ask and give you answers and analysis in the context of the general larger language model within Azure OpenAI, as well as data that you're displaying within one plan to help you give things in full context of what we're working on. So some sample areas of use cases in the solution that we can do portfolio management. And once again, this is all fairly recent, even for one plan. And we're constantly evolving the different areas where we can actually apply Sophia against these things. But for example, we can use it in the areas of strategic planning, portfolio optimization, work management and scheduling, risk assessment, resource allocation, and investment forecasting. Those are things that are all available today. So why adaptive portfolio management? So AI is to enhance this. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, what is it? Well, if we look at a diagram like this, organizations today are constantly trying to become more effective, more speedy, more responsive, and more agile. And many organizations that have done traditional project and portfolio management, maybe in a more waterfallish context, are trying to move all the way over into that dark blue on the left and to become more or even fully agile. In reality, to get from the green over to the dark blue takes a significant amount of time organization-wide. And that agile transformation journey in that period, you'll probably be in this mode where you're doing a mix of both, meaning mixed methodologies, mixed approaches. And that's kind of that adaptive state where you're supporting a variety of different things, whether it be mixed methodologies, mixed tools, etc. The analysts are finding that the vast majority of people that even strive to get all the way over to that dark blue on the left end up permanently in some form of adaptive moving forward, which means the vast majority, there's a greater number of companies and organizations that are there than are in a full agile mode across the organization. So there's the different methodologies, people getting more agile, but there's still a lot of waterfall out there. There's still a lot of hybrids of the two, and even some personalized cherry-picked versions of methodologies that are out there. And then when they're doing that, with the proliferation and availability of cloud-based tools that are out there today, people are using a proliferation of tools, meaning here's a rendering of one client of ours, where if you look at the different capabilities in the different parts of the organization, look at all the tools that were being used to manage projects, report on projects, etc., meaning there was data all over the place, and trying to harness that into a complete portfolio management solution or complete portfolio visibility was very challenging or manual, to say the least. And as we go into this era of digital transformation, the need to have more enterprise-wide focus to align with strategy, cross-functional efforts that require things across departments, let alone the individual portfolios of projects and efforts and initiatives that have to happen within each of these functional areas, makes it even more complex. And you've got to harness that somehow in a way that makes sense so that the organization can achieve its objectives. So if you have information silos that come from all these different methodologies, different proliferations of tools, etc., you end up with silos of information, and requires a lot of manual effort to mash up that data, or either manual report creation or more static report creation that may not even have any reliable tie to what's going on with the actual data that exists. There may be duplication of data entry just to do reporting, and it's difficult to remain current and active, meaning it's inefficient to have these information silos. And what one plan does is it helps us to bring these elements of adaptive PPM together. Better transparency across the board, hence be able to make quicker adjustments to shifting business priorities, be able to balance investments and resources with the things that are most important to the organization, support teams that use a variety of tools, ultimately have a single source of truth. And that could be across a variety of portfolios. And the outer parts of this, you could have different portfolios. You have project portfolios, service portfolios. You could have product development portfolios, application portfolios, professional services portfolios if you're servicing your customers with professional services. And all these are tapping resources and efforts, and you may be tapping pieces from all that as you're going across a large organization. So one plan brings together this stuff into a hub. So it does provide adaptive portfolio management. It gives you the power to choose. First off, in this diagram, what you see is that even though one plan doesn't need other planning tools, it has its own waterfall planning tools, its own agile planning tools for backlog and sprint planning, etc. It does have built-in connectors so that you can connect to the tools that you're using or committed to at this point, whether it be Microsoft Project or Azure DevOps or its new project for the web or Smartsheet or Jira, whatever it might be. The idea is it can have comprehensive portfolio management, bringing a hub of information together in one place that Sofia or AI can leverage this thing in a comprehensive fashion and enhance that. So if you think about the capabilities of one plan, beyond just being able to bring in multiple tool sets, is that we have the upfront pieces where you might have strategies or OKRs you want to build. You might have an overall enterprise architecture that you may want to align your projects with. For example, you may want to align with different applications or business capabilities or products that you're developing, for example. You may have ideation or requests that come through to formulate, to decide what you are going to actually act on to become your projects. And through those intakes, you're going to have portfolios that are going to give you portfolio visibility and the ability to do portfolio selection and prioritization, such that you can look at these things in traditional list views, more agile boards for people to do things like program increment planning, and even roadmap views to understand the timing of these things and when they're going to be delivered. Resource capacity planning. How do we know we have the resources to deliver on all the things we're committing to, unless we quantify that, get visibility into that on a regular basis, and see that we have a chance to deliver on those things? Financial planning, understand that, what we have the dollars for and what's going to fit within our budgets in order to have a realistic portfolio that can be reconciled with that dimension as well. And then what if scenario modeling, such that as you run into changes and want to respond to change as things come down the pike, what are the alternatives? What are the trade-offs? What might fit? What do we have the resources to do? What might we not do? What could we replace? Those types of things, and look at that in a totally what-if scenario. Now, on the execution side, as I mentioned, one plan has its own work planning capabilities to do waterfall planning and more agile planning, but it has a variety of connectors to popular planning tools that you can bring the planning data from those execution tools into one plan and roll those up to the portfolio for comprehensive visibility. And that when we run our AI model and our AI queries against that, it's going to look at things in the context of everything, not just some silo of information. We also can track things like issues, risks, changes, etc., all within the same context. Now, the individual resource managers, we have to allocate resources to individual efforts that roll up to that capacity plan that we talked about earlier on. And even possibly have resource negotiation between the project managers, the scrum masters, and potentially the folks that actually are responsible or are in charge of the resources and how they're going to be allocated, and be able to reconcile that as well. Team members have to participate so they can update their data on the tasks that they've been assigned and feed that streamline back to the project, as well as potentially doing timesheets if you need to capitalize labor, or you need to charge back internally, or if you have to bill customers for professional services, etc. And ultimately, the analysis. The executives are going to want status reports. Your stakeholders are going to want status reports that are a natural output of the process. Overall dashboards that can report at a high portfolio level, maybe at an individual program level, at an individual project level, even resource-based types of reports, etc., that people can get based on the data that's comprehensively into one plan. And even visualizations, as all these things start to interrelate, things are associated with one another. You might have an application that's associated with a particular project that needs to be updated according to that, or you might have a product that has to be developed in order so you can deliver on something on a project. Those interrelations and visualizations are available in one plan in a graphical format, so we can always understand those associations and or dependencies. Now, Sofia, our artificial intelligence engine, goes across all this. So any of these areas we can ask it questions and hopefully get some responses and some insights as to maybe what we can do and what actions we can take and what analysis we can do. Ultimately, we want to choose up front the right work to do that's aligned with our objectives and our strategies, and then execute well. And Sofia is going to help us do that. Now, those connectors we talked about, these are not one-off custom-coded connectors. One plan has a platform called One Connect that has pre-built connectors in a variety of areas, whether it be your agile tools, your project to scheduling or work management tools, whether it be your financial systems, your CRM systems, your service management systems, etc. We can use those and use that data very well with this platform to have it on an automated basis, interchange data with all those different sources to and from. So with that, I thought I'd start on a demonstration of one plan. So I think I'll just start at the basics. Every user, regardless of what your role is, would come into one plan and actually have a home page. And this home page would give me a couple of things: insights that we've set up, that is an analysis that, in some ways AI analyze such that you can look at, what requires your attention, what requires to be approved, what maybe we're overlooking that requires our attention, what might be due soon. Access to the projects that you are a member of, or the ones that instead of going through an entire portfolio to find the things that you're working on, be able to get to the things you're working on directly right from your own homepage, as well as recent conversations on things and conversation threads that may have come across for the plans or the tasks, or even the resource plans that you're working on, and understand what those threads are and what's come in most recently that requires your attention potentially. But once again, overall, this comes from having a full portfolio management view. Now, we can talk earlier on about things like strategy. We ideally would have a project portfolio that is aligned with objectives, that we'd be doing nothing that didn't align with a strategy that where the organization wants to be. But these objectives and key results in here are things that we can actually work with and build those strategic plans in here and align them with our project portfolio, just for the purposes of saying, if I was going to visualize a particular project portfolio, I can see that there's no precedence dependencies between this objective and any other. But as I look through here and I go look at how it's related, this objective has 3 different key results, of which those are related to different projects and epics that we have, but also are related to certain products, applications, business capabilities, and value streams we have in our organization. And we might want to go in and actually look at the details around any one of those at any given point in time to understand where they stand and how that information rolls through. Now, for the purposes of pure adaptive portfolio management, we might also have ideas or a requests area within our solution that allows us to have a funnel for things to be considered to potentially be promoted into projects. For example, I could actually have this website redesign idea or request that would allow me to characterize it, right? It's an operations business unit. It's part of a strategic category of projects. It has a business case and a value statement and maybe some additional comments. We might even use a prioritization scoring mechanism to calculate a prioritization score and even see if it's aligned with certain things within our enterprise architecture and have an approval process to go through with that. The idea here is that at any given point in time, we can actually see where this fits into the mix, and at an appropriate time, we can actually promote this idea or this request into a project within the solution at the appropriate time, using what we call a reorganize feature, meaning take this idea, this request, and let's promote it into a project and carry forth with it all the data that we put into and invested into when we had this in the idea stage. Now, here's a place where we might use Sofia. Sofia is located here in the lower right at all times. Let's say, for example, I'm in my prioritization view here in Sofia, and I'm going to ask Sofia a question. I'm going to just say, let's see, based on priority and ROI, what 3 projects should we approve first and why? So out of all the candidates we have here in our idea and request, give me some analysis on what you think we should actually approve and give me some explanation as to why. So it's doing a little bit of thinking. And it's basically telling me the cybersecurity audit idea has a high priority, a lot of benefits for the investment, and it's critical. It's a critical business need. The voice assistant integration, high priority. It has the potential to improve the company's product offerings and keep up with emerging technologies. Disaster recovery scores well on a lot of fronts and is helping us in a lot of ways. So basically, it's giving us some ideas and some analysis based on the data that's here within the ideas itself. Now, ultimately, when we decide to put things into our project portfolio, we can organize that portfolio any way we like. In this particular case, we've chosen a model where we have different portfolios for different parts of the business. There's programs within those portfolios, and then within the programs, we can either have projects or epics. Plan types that might designate a more waterfallish effort, one that might indicate more of an agile effort across that. But once again, you can structure those hierarchies any way you like. As we expand this out, you'll see that we have different portfolios, and within the programs, we have different projects and epics. Now, what I'd like to call your attention to in this adaptive world for adaptive portfolio management is that, yes, one plan can do its scheduling and its agile planning in here, whatever. But the idea, notice the icons you see to the left-hand side of these different elements within the portfolio. For example, you can see this particular epic is tied to a team site for content and collaboration, but it's also getting execution data from Azure DevOps. Here's one that's basically using Microsoft Teams for collaboration, and it's got execution data coming from Jira. Here we could be using Project for the Web. We could use Microsoft Project Professional. We could be using Smartsheet. The idea here is that you have an option, and ones that just have a Teams icon, for example, may be ones that we're just doing all the scheduling right in one plan directly. But once again, regardless of the source of the project data, we're all coming together into one common portfolio and one comprehensive hub as we go on through. Now, this summary view allows us to look at this in a variety of ways, and we can look at this from a more financial oriented view, effort oriented, but this one's got more KPIs associated with it. You can also look at this from a board perspective, for those in a more agile mindset. You might do things like program increment planning and understand where things are from cards on a Kanban board and maybe pull things in from a backlog. You might even from this card say, why is this market research project red? And if I go look at a quick edit on that, I can scroll down to the details on that, and I can see it's because the overall status is red because the schedule is off track. Everything else seems to be on track, but it's the schedule that's got us in trouble right now. So the idea is that we can look at this, we can have different cards with different columns, We can also interject swim lanes by different ways we categorize our projects. For example, if I decided I want to look at this by business unit, and I see the applications business unit and then the projects associated with the capital planning group and what's in IT, et cetera, we can do the swim lanes accordingly. Or maybe we've categorized our projects in a variety of ways. Whatever metadata we're using against our projects is a way we can look at this. So here's our process improvement projects. Here's our strategic projects. Here's more of our compliance projects, et cetera. Once again, a lot of flexibility on how we look at this. We also have roadmap views. So when we're looking at the roadmaps, we can look at those in a variety of ways. Here I've got them swim laned by business unit in a variety of ways, color coded by status, but once again, flexible ways that we can construct these. Now I'm looking here within the portfolio. Let's just say I wanted to use let me say I want to use Sofia from a portfolio context and maybe do some more analysis for me or make some suggestions. As I look at the full breadth of portfolio data that's up here, I could come in here and I could ask it a question like, which 3 projects are at the highest risk of failure and why, based on the data that's in the system? Let's see what it has to say. So as it's thinking, it's looking at not only the data that's in the general large language model that's out there, but it's also looking at the available data here in OnePlan. And it's saying that our market research product development is the status of off track and it's not progressing as expected, and suggests that it might not be on track to achieve its objective within the appropriate given time frame. Brand management is got its own issues. And then the facility expansion capital planning is there, and it's saying that its status is already not ideal and its completion percentage is only 11% at this stage, basically highlighting potential risks. So once again, some insights that may help us do our own analysis and complement our own perceptions as we're trying to make decisions. As we go into the details around any one of these, you can drill into a particular project, and I'll just briefly say from an adaptive perspective that you can actually capture whatever data you want around your projects, and these forms are completely configurable with drag and drop capabilities to determine what data you'd like, what kind of phased or life cycle approach you want to take. Also be able to go in here and have different work plans and schedules. And as I had mentioned, on the adaptive side of things, you could actually build these from templates right here within OnePlan, like this one was, right? Or you can, in turn, if you chose to, you could actually connect it to another system or another plan, say from a Microsoft project or a planner or a smart sheet, etc. And the idea is that you could bring this in from another source and have it connected routinely to update those data, that data automatically. So once again, work plans, there's resource capacity plans such that you can plan out your resources on an individual project basis. There's financials that allow you to do detailed time phasing and natural. In this one, I'm looking at budget versus benefits, but I could also be looking at revised forecasts and actuals, etc. And then there's also the notion of that Sofia can always assist you here in your planning process and analyze your project financials or your resource plans, etc. But from a resource plan analysis, I'm going to go to an example where I go to an overall resource plan in OnePlan. And this resource plan is basically going to give me a view of all the resources and how they're over allocated or under allocated within this. So for example, a lot of red on Daniel Williams, and let me look at him from a not in hours but full-time equivalent, and he's more than he's over 1.5 times allocated over a significant period of time, and it's because of all these projects he's on. And the idea here, it's going to give me insights into that. It's going to let me potentially find substitutes for that. So for example, I could say, how do I maybe relieve him and put somebody else and find another person that could replace Daniel on that particular project, and will give me some alternatives of people that actually have some bandwidth in this time frame where I could actually do a replace Daniel and relieve him of that and do some more resource balancing. But let's just say I wanted some insights into this. And I wanted to just look at this overall situation. And let me just ask a question. I'll just say, oh, what resources do I need to hire? I'll just ask something generic like that. Let's see if it comes up with something that I can use. So as it's thinking, so it's basically telling me the areas that I'm vulnerable in, and that I'm areas that I'm in engineering, on a specific project that I'm going to need some help. And let me just ask another follow-on question to that. Let me see if it can help quantify that for me. Let's see, how many of each resource would it make sense for me to do? Let's see if it gives me some analysis there. So it's telling me that Daniel Williams has got the highest commitment, and it's saying that it's giving me some additional quantification on the same hotspots that I have. And then it's going to tell me what to consider as I look at this. So it's telling me what I might need. I might need additionals in these different areas and help quantify that. So once again, giving me some insights on the resource management side of things. The other piece I think I'll end with on this demonstration live is the area of this modeler and the idea of what if analysis. So you can build different models based on the data that's in your portfolio, but strictly in a what if capacity. So for example, I can include certain projects or categories of projects, et cetera, within a what if model. And let's say I wanted to put some constraints to try and understand how to prioritize these types of things. I could go into, say, a $10 million budget scenario, saying I'm limited to $10 million. And out of all the projects that I'm looking at, these are in and these are out because these are the ones that I selected to fit within that budget. Now, it might have been because of financial constraints to try and get it within a dollar constraint there. And so I might look at it that way. I might look at it also, maybe I'm within budget, but do I have the resources to accomplish this as well? I'm looking like I have a lot of green there. It looks looking like it's pretty well, but let's just say I was over allocated. I might also look at a scenario like this and say, all right, maybe we should take a project that we haven't started yet, and to relieve some of that, maybe we can push this out into, say, early next year and look at that, and it would actually re-rack and change the resource allocations down below based upon moving the resource requirements for that out. The idea there is we can do multiple scenarios. We can then analyze scenarios, meaning I can come in and look at the differences of a 10 million versus a $15 million in this case, meaning I could do more projects. It looks like I can achieve more than $5 million of benefits, significantly more, just by getting that additional investment. It might be able to get $20 million more in benefits. So the idea is all those types of things are possible here, as well as being able to look at the analytics around that, and even further analysis, like I showed you the visualizer before. I can use that in a what if analysis to say, this is what I selected, and just do a double check on the things that were unselected and see what dependencies or what associations might be there before I make a final decision. So once again, a lot of information that we have that we can analyze here. Now, in the modeler, right, I could come in here and also ask it questions. I could go and say, in this model, what projects should we consider moving from out to in, and why? So let me just see what it might come up with here for me on this one. So once again, it's looking at the data, you know, the benefits, the prioritization, the variety of things. And it's making a selection of integration with third-party systems should move from out to in. It's going to improve efficiency. It's going to provide cost savings. It's going to enhance communications within the organization. It's going to increase our competitive advantage, so help us in the marketplace, and also help us provide better customer experience with more seamless, personalized customer experience. So once again, it's given me some detailed explanation as to why I should reconsider and put that project in. I could also maybe then ask it, what should I take out potentially? But the idea, once again, I'm getting very good detailed analysis by using Sofia GPT. All right, I think I'll leave that at that and then go back to the slides. Now, I think I've gone through enough scenarios today, but just to give you an idea of some categorization, there's some AI strategic planning that can be done with one plan. So once again, in our strategic plans, we can come in here and ask it questions to help it identify patterns and opportunities and potential risks. So we can go through here and have it, analyze our strategic plan and maybe make suggestions on how we can do that more optimally, or maybe where the risk areas are in our plans. So that's an interesting thing that we could do there. We could actually move on through into optimizing our portfolio, which we did a little of that in a live example. So we could ask it to provide a summary of this portfolio data. And once again, it will analyze and provide an overall summarization on that. So we could either do it for our own purposes or some summarization data that we can share and some quantifications of those types of things. We could do budget-based analysis and have it analyze the dollars. We could actually do work management enhancement with one plan, where we could actually have it do business case definition. Much like we had ChatGPT do a project charter, we could actually help it do a narrative on the business case based upon data we put in here against that. We could actually have it build a project schedule for us. This one's kind of cool. If we come in here and we say, put a new project in just from scratch, and it's called Smart Home Automation. And then we may go into the work plan, and then, a blank work plan. We could then go to insert a template, and we can use AI, right? We might have our own templates already built, but let's just say we want to innovate one. We could actually ask it to create a schedule for a smart home automation system. And here it's actually created a work breakdown structure for us that we can then implement and put in as our plan. And it actually suggested some resources that we can put in our plan as well. And then as a starting point, at least, we have a schedule and a plan that's built in here that we can then refine rather than starting from scratch. And once again, we didn't already have a pre-built template for this. The AI suggested this for us. We can do risk identification. We did some of that risk assessment in the live piece. I won't go through this again, but we can actually do that. Resource capacity planning. This is kind of a cool one. I can come in here and provide a sample resource plan by hours and month for this plan. So this shipping and delivery plan, I'm asking it, I don't have a resource plan in here yet. Based on the data I have in here for the type of project it is, it's going to give me suggestions of the resource types and the timing of the quantification of those. So look at this here. Over this January through August, it's giving me the roles, and by month, how many hours per month it thinks I'm going to need for each of these particular roles as a starting point for a resource plan, instead of innovating that and thinking about that from the ground up and from scratch. Same with the resources I need to hire that I went through. Financial insights, so we can have it analyzed from the financial planner that I showed you. We could even have it do communications for us. So if I said, in this case, it says, help me write a summary, project summary email to my manager. It's going to actually go in and create it in an email format. So for example, as it does it, it'll look at the data here and it says, dear manager's name, I hope this finds you well. So it puts it in the context of an email with, in this case, project objectives, progress, key metrics, etc. So once again, at a minimum, big time savings and not having us have to write all that stuff from scratch. Once again, don't always have to take it verbatim, but the idea gives us at a minimum a huge head start. The same thing with status report narrative, etc. So hopefully that's enough examples to show you how this could actually move the needle, and how the fact that Sofia GPT is here today and actually can give you benefits with one plan as we speak. So in summary, AI is rapidly being adopted and will have significant impacts for PPM across the board. It is in its early stages. It should be adopted with caution, and both OpenAI and Microsoft are evolving in their offerings. And AI has many applications in portfolio management and can greatly augment our human efforts. And OnePlan provides a comprehensive adaptive PPM solution in which we can leverage Sofia GPT and AI capabilities, because it's integrating all work and all resources into one common hub, which means it's a rich set of project work and resource management data that's in OnePlan. Now, teams can choose to work where they want. They can be agile, but leadership will get the portfolio visibility they need, the metrics they require, and Sofia GPT will provide us the assistance to complement our human efforts to make us even more effective. Now, OnePlan is consistently recognized as a market leader. In Microsoft alone, in the last 5 consecutive years, we've been either the global PPM Partner of the Year or the finalist for 5 consecutive years. We've also been recognized in Voice of the Customer by Gartner, by Infotech Research, and a number of different software review boards for the quality of the work and the thought leadership that we have. We do webinars like this all the time. So if you go to oneplan.ai/webinars, you can always see what the next live webinars that are scheduled, as well as a rich library of on-demand webinars. We do these roughly weekly. So there's a whole slew of ones out there that you might want to tap. So please check that out. Now, if you want to try OnePlan today, you can go in and try a strategic or an adaptive portfolio management trial, and Sofia is actually included in that trial. So if you want to do that, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to chaperone you through that and help you get the most out of that trial. But you can go to oneplan.ai/solutions or to Microsoft@appsource.com. So feel free to trial that out. As far as offers and next steps, definitely a trial is available. If you're not quite there yet, and you want to understand what it takes to get from where you're at into a solution like this, we're happy to conduct a free roadmap workshop for you. Reach out to us. Or if the next step is you just want more details, I gave you a very high level, 1,000-foot view demo today. If you want a more in-depth personalized one-on-one demo, please reach out to us and we're happy to schedule that with you. You can reach out at contact@oneplan.ai or just research more about this at www.oneplan.ai. We're even looking at some offerings beyond the trial to have some limited use licenses for users out there as well. So stay tuned for that as well. So with that, I hope you got some value out of the presentation today. We thank you for your time out of your valuable day today. By bringing all this together into a common hub, we like to call this the power of one. Reach out to us. We'd love to engage with you, and have a great day.